and welcome to Trucking Along with Kiersey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. Today I want to talk about driving through fog and wind because I think both are underestimated. Everybody always talks about how bad ice and snow is, but wind can blow you over. Seriously, I've seen it happen several times. And when it comes to fog, sometimes you think it's best to try to pull off the road, but that's not always the best thing to do. So stick with me, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, one of the craziest things that I start seeing out here on the road was the wind. Like, we don't have 60, 80 mile per hour wind back in Jersey. It's just not there. So the first time I saw a weather alert in Oklahoma, it was 80 mile per hour wind with tennis ball size hail. I have a screenshot of this somewhere. I'll put it up if I can find it. But to me, that was insane. What do you mean 80 mile per hour winds? And when you drive through all the, like, the Midwest, and you're going to Kansas, and you're going to Oklahoma and Missouri, like, Missouri had 29 tornadoes in 2 weeks this year. 29 in 2 weeks. I don't know anything about tornadoes. The only thing I know about tornadoes is what I saw in Wizard of Oz, and houses landed on people, especially witches. My sister calls me the Wicked Witch of the East, so boom, that's where it's going to come. So something you need to understand when you're out in high wind areas, know where the storm shelters are. A lot of the rest areas have storm shelters down below, or sometimes they have, like, the middle room of the rest area is the storm shelter itself. A lot of distribution centers, like the Walmart DC, even at Prime, they have inner rooms in our terminal that are storm shelters. So be aware that if you're in a customer like that, they may have a place for you to get out of the truck and go inside. Usually Walmart will tell us when we go to check in and say, hey, you know, there's something coming, and come in, but can't take your animals. So be aware of that. Wind. The first time I drove through really bad wind and I was empty and decided to park, I backed up into the space and I was like, oh man, this is crazy. I did my post-trip walk around and everything, and I got back in the truck and I start laying down, and after a couple minutes I start hearing door slams. Like, what the heck is going on? So this guy next to me says, get out, you're new, right? I said, yeah. He said, I could tell by the way you backed up. He says, but lower your landing gear, because the landing gear gives you a little bit more stability when it comes to the wind. So, but remember to raise that landing gear before you take off in the morning, because if not, sparks will be flying and legs will be breaking off, and then you'll be saying to your FM, well, Kiersey said, don't be blaming that on me. But so that's something to keep in mind. Lower the landing gear. Always know where your storm shelters are. You know, always be alert to the warnings. My phone, I think I did it through National Weather Service. They send me alerts to my phone as I'm driving through different places, so I get the alerts while I'm driving, which is a really cool thing, so look into that. Also, there's a thing called Tornado Central, and that will give you different weather alerts throughout the country also. And National Weather Channel. National Weather Channel? Yeah, National Weather Channel. You know, the Weather Channel. That has really good alerts. It has really good radar maps. It will tell you, like, in color graphs of the speeds of the winds, and if there's like a warning or a watch on, it puts everything at the top in red for you, so you can get that and understand that. Fog. Fog is one that I don't think that people really respect it enough. And they think, okay, well, I'm just going to drive until it gets, you know, better, and then it doesn't get better. And a lot of times, especially at night, the fog's not going to get better until like noon, when the sun is really high in the sky and then heats everything up, so everything's like more of a same temperature. Like, the fog is created when the air and the ground are 2 different temperatures. So when the sun comes out and pretty much heats it all up and makes it all the same temperature, that's when it dissipates. But Kentucky, West Virginia, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Ohio, these places are some of the worst places to be driving in fog. And South Beloit, Illinois, I was told to go to a fuel stop. It's a Pilot there, and I had never been there before, and my Qualcomm was telling me that it was there, and I couldn't see it. I got off the highway and I couldn't even tell really where the streets were. I was guessing based on the stoplights, but the stoplights just looked like a blur. You couldn't even really see the light. So it's a really dangerous situation, and it got to the point where I was driving with my hazards on, and I made the turn because I knew that the turn had to be there, but the fog was so bad I couldn't even see the truck stop. I couldn't see the marquee. I couldn't see any of the signs. It was crazy. Like, I could have cut it with a knife crazy. So to even turn into the truck stop driveway, I had to get out and put flashlights at the edges so that I could see where I could turn in and be safe. And I was able to, like, go park along a curb, and I left my marker lights on. So when you wind up in a really bad fog situation, make a decision. Is it safer for me to stay on the highway that's going straight, where there really shouldn't be anybody in front of you? It's not like you're going to see cross traffic if you're on an interstate, okay? But when you get off the highway, sometimes you can't even see the roads to make the turns to turn into the truck stops. So in that case, it might be better for you to stay on the highway. Even if you're driving with your hazards on, even if you're going slow, it might be better. But a couple things to be aware of is that, number one, there are some cars that blend in with the fog. White, silver, any kind of those light colors. And these idiots drive not realizing they have their parking lights on. They have, like, daytime running lights. So the daytime runners are on in the headlights, but they don't have any tail lights. So you really have to be aware of people when they come flying past you. You know, are they going to cross in front of you, and then you won't see them because they don't have any lights on. Another thing to be aware of is if you're going to pull off into a rest area, because not all trucks have APUs, not everybody's going to leave their marker lights on. So when you pull off, you may not see that there is a truck parked on the side. You may not see that they came into the rest area and just stopped. I've seen rest areas where people just blocked the aisles and just stopped because the weather was that bad they couldn't go anywhere. But then they don't have an APU, and if they left their lights on, it's going to kill their battery. So it's a really dangerous scenario, not only for the driver but for the parked person. So always make sure you have your marker lights on. If you have an APU, if I drive reefer, and if I didn't have an APU, I'd probably still leave my lights on, because then I could jump the truck battery from the reefer. We have our own. All you need to do is always have battery cables, jumper cables. I have them, and I'll just jump that sucker, because I'm not going to feel like a sitting duck on, you know, a lot of the rest areas they're not lined parking. A lot of them are like parallel along a curb. So if you're coming off, you might not see somebody out into the aisle a little bit. You have to be really, really careful in these situations. So use your flashers, and sometimes it is safer just to stay on the road. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that you guys were asking me. The floral loads was one that somebody asked. Somebody did ask me about routing, and they asked me about storms, and I thought I covered that pretty well when it came to, like, the winter stuff. But no, I don't have to drive through storms, and if I felt like I could get around it, than I would, but you have to constantly look at those weather apps again, because sometimes the storms will change, and sometimes you think, oh, well, I'll just go up north around it, and it's from like Texas all the way up to North Dakota. Like, wind will be like that. The one year they had a fire in Oklahoma, and the smoke just like radiated through the whole state and through Kansas and everything. So I was trying to get from Amarillo, Texas to Missouri, and there was no way to go around it. So I was like, the heck with it, I'm just stopping. You can't see. But that's the concept of wind and fog. Shut down if you need to. Always be aware of your surroundings and make sure you're visible. The more you are visible, the less likely somebody will hit you. And you have to be observant so that you don't hit anybody else. So, like, comment, share, subscribe, comment below and tell me your worst fog or wind story. I want to hear all about it. And if you're nervous about weather, I want you to comment below and ask me what kinds of questions that you need answers to, or, you know, is there a certain weather that you're concerned with, and we'll discuss that too. So, like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that little bell, and I appreciate everything you guys have been doing lately. Bye, and I hope to see you trucking along.